Bakit na rin yun? Remove talaga. Totoo pa yun. Okay, let's start. Again, this will just be quick 19 slides only, and then a lot of the slides here are just visual presentation on pharmacokinetic compartments, and then at the end, syempre we'll have our computation. But these are just basic computations sa pharmacokinetic parameters. But for the meantime, let's talk about pharmacokinetic compartments. This one is a basic na lesson sa pharmacokinetics. Let's just have a quick review. I believe you are very familiar with this before we'll move on to the study of the different kinetics or yung mga first order, second order kinetics natin. Let's talk about first the pharmacokinetic compartments. So when you say pharmacokinetic compartments, they are actually just hypothetical or they are just mathematical concept just to represent the part of the body where we expect our drug to be distributed after being absorbed in the bloodstream. Okay, so this is not really referring into a specific organ, but it may be a tissue or a group of tissues as long as we expect the drug to occupy this space in the body after being administered and absorbed. It may even be a fluid in the body. Okay? So hypothetical lang siya, but it is very important because this will help us predict yung time course of our drug in the body after absorption and administration and absorption. So the selection of the compartment models that we need to use for a certain drug is dependent on the characteristic mismo, distribution characteristics of the drug. So that actually includes the physicochemical properties of the drugs and all the factors influencing the distribution of drug following its administration and absorption. Okay? Now, if a drug is, for example, rapidly and quickly siya na distribute sa body. So, nag-administer tayo and then na-absorb siya. And then after that, mabilis yung kanyang distribution to from the blood to the tissues. Ang tendency niyan, magre-redistribute din siya from the tissues, babalik siya sa blood, and most of the time, the rate of the transfer of these drugs from the different spaces in the body will become equal instantaneously. However, there are drugs na syempre slower yung kanilang distribution. And because of that, yun yung reason na meron tayong different compartments. Kasi most of the time, if the drugs are quickly distributed, doon lang tayo sa one compartment model. Pero habang nagsuslow down yung kanyang distribution, dumadami din yung compartment natin na susundin. Okay? So ano ba itong mga pharmacokinetic compartments that we have? First one, we have there the one compartment model. From the name itself, one compartment, we treat the body as one entity, one compartment, wherein after the drug is being absorbed, it will be evenly distributed all throughout. Okay? So again, the body is like a homogeneous unit, evenly distributed yung drug after absorption. Now, this happen again if the drug is mabilis yung kanyang distribution. Okay? One compartment model lang siya. Pero, meron tayong tinatawag din na two-compartment model wherein we have the central compartment at the same time the peripheral compartment. So the drug is being administered and absorbed, and after that, the drug will leave the bloodstream and will go to the different parts of the body. So it may be a tissue or a tissues or an organ itself na doon madidistribute yung ating drug. It does not necessarily mean na isang organ siya ha. It may be a group of, I mean organs with like similar na type of tissues. Ganun siya. But nevertheless, yung pathway ng drug from the central compartment, pupunta siya in the peripheral compartment. And then after that, it will be redistributed back to the central compartment wherein the drug will undergo elimination after. Meaning sa central compartment siya mag-eliminate. Okay? Now, we have multi-compartment model if the drug is very slow in its distribution. Iba-iba yung rate ng kanyang distribution sa different organs or different types of tissues that we have in the body. Okay? So, yan yun. However, we also have the non-compartmental pharmacokinetics. Hindi lahat ng drugs magfa-follow ng one, two, or multi-compartment. No, kailan ito mangyayari? If number one, the clearance is organ independent. So, hindi lang isang organ or group of organs yung responsible sa mag-eliminate, mag-excrete sa drug. Okay? So hindi tayo maka-pinpoint na it's the kidneys, dun lang talaga yung clearance ang mangyayari. Okay? So magiging non-compartmental pharmacokinetics ito siya. Kasi supposedly pag 'di ba nasabi ko kanina, pag meron tayong compartments, the drug will just return to the central compartment and then elimination takes place. Now, ito, elimination, yun yung sinabi kanina, elimination does not occur solely from the central compartment. Pag hindi yan siya bumalik sa central compartment or hindi sa central compartment yung kanyang process of elimination, hindi tayo divide the drug into different compartments. So, how do we now estimate the amount of drug or paano natin ngayon malalaman or ma-analyze yung mga non-compartmental na mga drugs natin? This is highly dependent sa total drug exposure, and we usually use the AUC or the area under the curve here. We check the amount of drug that reaches the bloodstream after administration. So yun yung AUC, yung pagbabasehan in the analysis of a non-compartmental pharmacokinetics. And how do we check the AUC? We usually use the trapezoidal rule for this. Now, the succeeding slides will just give us a picture on the movement of drugs depending on what compartmental model are we using. Okay. The first one here on the left side, we have the one compartment model na after administration of the dose of the drug, syempre, it will be absorbed. And we treat again the body as one compartment, one entity. And the drug will be quickly and evenly distributed all throughout the body or all throughout that compartment. And then after that, we can see the K10 that represents the elimination rate constant of the drug. Okay, so after the distribution, here comes the elimination. Now on the second illustration on the right side, we have the two compartment model. We have there still the administration and absorption. The drug will stay in the central compartment and then it will move to the peripheral compartment. So we have K12, that's the rate of distribution of the drug to the peripheral compartment. And then I told you a while ago, the drug will be redistributed back to the central compartment. Thus, we have the K21. That's the rate of the distribution or the redistribution. Now, once bumalik sa central compartment, the elimination will also follow. Thus, we also have the K10. So as you can see, Even on the third illustration sa baba, we have the three-compartment model. All elimination processes of the drugs following the pharmacokinetic compartments will occur in the central compartment. Mag-move lang talaga yung drug into the periphery if multi-compartment na siya. And marami na tayong i-compute dyan kung marami tayong compartments. Because different compartments, we have different rate of distribution. So yan yung mangyayari dito. Okay? So, itong process on selecting ano ba ang compartment model na appropriate for a certain drug is actually dependent also to its physico-chemical property. Nasabi ko niyan siya kanina. Kasi yung kanyang physico-chemical property, syempre will dictate kung papasok ba siya sa cell membrane and mag-diffuse ba siya, mapupunta ba siya in that certain kind of tissue or organ. And at the same time, yung pag-test mismo, yung number one, frequency of the plasma samples collected. In the previous chapter, nakalagay doon na for a pharmacokineticist, usually the recommended times na they withdraw blood and then they check the amount of drugs in the plasma is 15 times. So, ano yan siya, magdedictate kung gaano ka-frequent yung time ng pagkuha ng blood para ma-check talaga yung concentration. And then ma-check kung talaga bang wala na siya sa blood, meaning na didistribute na yung drug sa body. Okay, and then at the same time, sensitivity syempre of the procedure during the analysis process sa plasma samples. So again, ito ay mga illustrations lamang to let us see kung anong nangyayari for our compartment models. But usually for the succeeding slides, focus muna tayo on 1 and 2 compartment model. So, dyan nakikita natin yung isang container is considered one compartment, and when we administer the drug, homogeneous na siya kaagad. So, mabilis yung pag-distribute ng drug particles in the compartment, and then even yung kanyang magiging distribution. However, for two compartment models, after drug administration, the drug first will be seen in the central compartment, and it will be distributed to the peripheral compartment on the right side. And then there will be redistribution until we achieve the state of equilibrium. And when I say state of equilibrium, we will have the same like concentration of drug for both compartments. Okay? And then elimination will follow. If you have questions, you may ask questions. This is another illustration, but actually it's the same thing for one compartment model. After drug administration, buong katawan magkakaroon ng drug. Walang barriers on distribution. There will be even distribution sa drug in the body. Ito naman, in the two compartment model, after administration, the drug will move to peripheral compartments. And this one here is highlighted, no, yung mga organs where the drug will go after siyang umabot sa blood, na distribute siya sa different organs. And then after that, there will be again redistribution of the drug to the different tissues sa body until mag-equilibrium lang din siya. So the body will still have the drugs. Okay, slow down lang yung kanyang process kasi dadaan muna siya sa pag-transfer between the central and the peripheral compartment before siya evenly distributed sa body. So in the compartment models, what we are looking here is number one, absorption, the rate of absorption of the drug, abot siya sa bloodstream, and then at the same time, the drug distribution, tapos, syempre, the elimination. So in the illustration, we can see a lot of K, that we refer that one sa as the elimination rate constant. Pero nasabi ko na kanina, in our compartment pharmacokinetics, the elimination happens in the central compartment. What we can check uh, between the compartments sa sa two or more na mga compartment models, yung K12 or K21 na yan yung rate of distribution of drug. Yung K10 lang yung ating elimination rate constant. Okay? So this is another one, but this one is giving us the same picture of the compartment models that we have. Okay? So we'll continue with this one. Ito yung graph kasi usually we do that in pharmacokinetics. No, we do graphs of the concentration versus time ng ating drugs after administration. So in the left side, kasi yung sa right side, ito yung paggagamitan na natin ng semi-log paper. On the left side, we can see there the solid line represents the one compartment model. Both of these drugs are given IV bolus ha. Pero the solid line is giving us a picture of what one compartment model is. After drug administration, syempre tataas yung concentration no, ng drug in the blood, but we will have constant elimination after. Okay? However, yung dashed line, yan naman yung sa two compartment model. And we can see na there is a sudden decrease of blood from the plasma. That is because of the distribution of the drug to the peripheral compartment. And then after that, dun pa natin makikita yung constant elimination ng drug. Okay? So yan yung difference. When we check the graph of the plasma concentration versus time of one compartment and two compartment model in pharmacokinetics. Okay? Questions or clarifications before we'll move on to the computation? Wala. So let's move on. We have here pharmacokinetic parameters, the loading dose and the priming dose. We are all familiar with this, and I believe we are all knowledgeable of this. No, we do loading dose or priming dose to achieve our target concentration rapidly. So this is our initial or our first dose, but again, we have one goal to achieve our target concentration, or we call that the steady state concentration, as quickly as possible. So we do this especially if the drug has long elimination half-life, since matagal siyang ma-excrete tapos nag-load tayo ng dose, maa-achieve natin kaagad yung ating desired concentration. So drugs like digoxin, teicoplanin, or amiodarone, yan yung mga usually naglo-loading or priming dose tayo. Now, in computing for the loading or the priming dose, we need the following. We have here, number one, syempre our target concentration or our desired concentration, or we call that our steady state concentration. And then the second one, we have our route of administration. We need this. We need the route for us to know the bioavailable fraction or the bioavailability na factor natin. And then concentration of the drug present. If the drug is previously administered, ano ba yung naiwan na amount of drug in the body? But if not, then we'll stick with zero. That is concentration at 0 time. So since this is loading dose, usually zero lang din naman ito. And then we also need the volume of distribution for the computation of the priming dose, as well as the correction factors. So si correction factors, ito yung F and S. F yung bioavailable fraction natin, it's the fraction of the administered dose of the drug that reaches the bloodstream. So, yung values nito will range from 0 to 1. 0, syempre, kung nag-administer ka ng drug pero walang umabot sa bloodstream. And then 1 is 100% bioavailable. Usually, syempre, we know na it's like intravenous administration na kasi diretso siya sa bloodstream, so 100%. Now, S is our salt correction na factor. Okay? So, usually this is already given sa mga problem solving, but if not, it's 1. The value is 1. Now, um, the computation of the loading dose is derived from this formula. So we will start. V is the volume of distribution. So supposedly, if we are going to compute for the volume of distribution, we just divide the dose divided by the concentration at 0 time. But meron ding mga problems na kompleto kasi yung binibigay. So, volume of distribution is equal to the dose, tapos i-multiply pa natin siya sa F. Again, that is the bioavailable fraction times S, the salt correction factor. And then, i-divide natin sa concentration. So, we have two concentrations here. The first one is our desired concentration, and then i-minus natin yung initial natin na concentration. Okay? Now, we are going to rearrange this one because again, what we are looking for this is the loading dose or the priming dose. Ito na yun. If we want to compute the loading dose, we just need again to derive the formula. Then we'll get the C target, that is the desired concentration, minus the initial concentration. Usually this is 0 because remember we are still having the loading dose or the first dose natin. Times the V, that's the volume of distribution, and then divided by dF, that is the bioavailable fraction. It's 1 if it's given intravenously. And then i-multiply siya sa S, the salt correcting factor. Okay? So, usually, nagko-compute tayo ng IV administration, so the F will be 1. And then, itong C measured here, CP, ito siya. This is the initial concentration of the drug no before the loading dose is given. But usually, it's 0. Kasi nga, it's our initial dose for the patient. So, we expect na walang drug sa blood ng patient. And then, itong S, sabi ko kanina, it's usually 1, but there are instances na hindi siya 1 kagaya ng example here. So, ang example dito, merong 200 mg na dose ng aminophylline, pero nakasalt siya, ethylene diamine na salt. So, pag i-administer siya, makukuha kasi natin yung theophylline, no? Ano kasi yung aminophylline natin, ethylene diamine salt of theophylline. So, i-correct natin ngayon yung ating salt. So, may S siya. In this 200 mg, 80% of that is the theophylline, and then the remaining 20% is the ethylene diamine. So, ang ating salt correction factor is just 0.8 kasi yun lang din yung salt talaga for this kind of drug. So, if you're going to compute kung gaano karaming drug ang supposedly mapupunta sa bloodstream, we are presuming here na this is given IV. So, F niyan is 1. And then, again, may salt correction factor siya na 0.8. And then, we have the dose of the aminophylline here, the 200 mg. So, sa 200 mg, dito sa baba, may nakalagay 160 mg of theophylline ang aabot sa bloodstream. Okay? This is the amount of drug absorbed or the amount of drug that reaches the circulation. But that is not our yung kung saan tayo magko-concentrate, doon muna tayo sa loading dose. So, I have here an example of a computation for our pharmacokinetic parameters. the loading dose. We have here a patient comes into the emergency room with a severe infection. So meron dito immediate therapy with an antibiotic. The patient weighs 70 kilograms. And then the volume of distribution is given here. It's the apparent volume of distribution. That's 1.429 liter per kilogram. And meron ding binigay na bioavailability, that's 0.5. So this is not given intravenously because we have zero point 0.5 as the F. And the desired steady state concentration, this is our target, the 10 microgram per ml. So the question is, what would be an appropriate oral loading dose? So again, you have to be familiar with our formula. This is our formula. We'll have this one sa exam also. Dose is equal to the C target minus the C measured times the volume of distribution divided by the correction ng mga factors. So, F times S. So, ano yung mga given natin? Number 1, the 10 microgram per ml, that is our steady state, desired steady state concentration or our target concentration. Yan dapat yung magiging concentration ng drug once administered. And then, i-multiply. Supposedly, i-minus natin ito siya sa C measured. Pero, to, ano, para to clarify lang, bakit wala na nag-minus, diretso na. Kasi, usually, syempre, this is zero. Kasi we are talking about the priming or the loading dose. So, hindi ko na siya sinulat din dyan ha. Zero na yan siya automatic. Times the volume of distribution. But please take note that this is the apparent volume of distribution in liters per kilogram. Pag volume of distribution, volume talaga yun, liter. Liter lang. So, what we need to do is to multiply this one sa weight sa patient para makuha talaga natin yung absolute na volume of distribution natin. So, i-multiply lang yan siya para ma-cancel ang kilogram. But, ano na ito ha, yung nilagay ko dito sa solution. Nangyayari dito sa aking mouse. Ang nilagay dyan, na ano na siya ha, na convert na into ml para mas madali siyang ma-cancel later because our desired steady state concentration is in ml. So ito, 1429 ml per kilogram. Wait lang. Wait lang talaga. Okay. And then, na-convert na ito ha. And then, divided by 0.5. So, walang S na binigay. Sabi ko kanina, it's automatically 1. Okay? So, hindi ko na din siya sinulat dyan. So, ngayon, multiply na lang tayo. 10 times 1,429 times 70. We can cancel the ml. We can cancel the kilogram. We will be left with microgram as the unit. Okay, so we have here the answer, 1,300,000 microgram, pero we have to divide this sa 0.5. Now, kasi yung nasa choices, either grams or milligram, so i-convert na siya diretso. Actually, hindi na din tinake into consideration yung 300 dyan. But just 1 gram. 1 gram divided by 0.5, na-convert yan ha micrograms to gram, divided by 0.5, our answer here is 2 grams. So that's letter B. So this is our loading dose for the antibiotic sa ating patient. Okay? Ayan. So ang ating second na example, anyway, I have given you the PPT no para ma-review nyo din. We have here the second example. Wait lang. Ano ba? Wala naman. Okay, the 7-year-old girl weighing 31 kilogram appears in the emergency room suffering from asthma. So the decision is made to initiate the treatment with the drug theophylline. The desired steady state concentration is 15 microgram per ml. We have here the apparent volume of distribution, 0.5 liter per kilogram. And we have the oral bioavailability, that's the 0.6. Now, the question is, which of the following would be the most appropriate intravenous loading dose? So, loading dose, intravenous ha. So, we have the same formula. We just have to locate the given. The C target, that is our steady state concentration, and that is 15 microgram per ml. Yung C measured natin, wala tayong ganito since loading dose tayo. So automatically, this is 0. And then we have the apparent volume of distribution. That's 0.5 liter per kilogram. Apparent ito. We need the absolute volume of distribution. Thus, we need to multiply it sa weight ng patient. Okay? And then, divided by the correction factors. Now, as you can see, baka ma-confuse yung iba. Bakit 1? Because this is asking for the intravenous loading dose. Yung given dyan na bioavailability, 0.6, that is for the oral administration. So, be careful. So, this is 1. And then, 1 lang din yung ating correction factor. So, actually, basically, that is just 1. Pwede lang natin i-multiply. Pero, what I did here is, yung 15 microgram per ml na steady state concentration, na-convert na din ito for easy computation since our volume of distribution is in liter. So, 15 microgram per ml is equal naman lang din sa 15 milligram per liter. Okay, and then we have choices here in milligram also. And then ito again, to get the absolute volume of distribution, we multiply the apparent VD to the patient's weight, and that is 31 kilograms. So cancel the liter, cancel the kilograms, we will be left with milligram as the unit. So the answer this, when we do the math, that's 232.5 milligrams. So again, the answer here is letter C. So, ganito lang yung ating loading dose or priming dose natin. Ulit-ulit lang naman yan siya. Basta be careful lang tayo with the F, kung ano yung hinahanap. If it's not asking for the intravenous loading dose, then we will use the given bioavailability or bioavailable fraction. Okay? Questions or clarifications? Wala. Ang last neto, I am almost done. And then again, the rest of the time, you can utilize it to complete the activities. But I did not set the deadline, so it's okay. You cannot finish it this afternoon. But the last pharmacokinetic parameters for the midterms, we have the dosing interval. So ito yung mga drugs na kailangan may dosage regimen, kailangan may next dose pa. But what we have one goal, parehas tayo ng goal with the loading dose, to achieve the steady state concentration. Okay? So in computing the dosing interval, we still need the same things except that we don't use the volume of distribution here. Instead, what we need is the clearance. So dosing interval is equal to the F, that's the bioavailable fraction, times the S, the salt correction factor, times D, that's the dose, divided by the clearance, times the steady state concentration. So again, had the F is the bioavailable fraction. It's the fraction or the amount of the drug na after administration na umabot sa bloodstream. Ulitin ko lang, the values may be 0 to 100, 0 to 1, 0 kung wala talaga ni isang umabot sa blood, and then 1 kung 100% bioavailable yung ating drug. So lahat napunta sa bloodstream. But how do they compute for the F? F is computed using this formula. F is the AUC of the orally administered drug divided by the AUC if binigay siya IV. times baliktad the dose of the IV divided by the dose of the oral administration of that certain drug. That's how we compute for the F. Pero, let's talk about the interval. So again, please do not forget this formula. So we have two formula for this afternoon. Okay, so anong meron dito? Example, we would like to give orally 500 milligram tablet to a patient suffering from arthritis. So at what intervals that the patients should take a dose? So we have 500 milligram of a drug for arthritis. So kailan yung magiging next dose to maintain the steady state concentration? So ito yung mga given sa problem. We have the F. Definitely, this is not intravenously given. The F is 0.7. And then we have the steady state concentration or our desired concentration. That's 10 milligrams per liter. And then we have the clearance, 6 liters per hour. So let's substitute. Again, do not forget this formula. The F is 0.7, and then the S, it's not given in the problem I told you a while ago. If it's not given, it's automatically 1. And then the dose, we have the dose here, 500 milligram. Okay, hindi na natamad na ang nag-type. So wala na siyang unit. But please do include units and then proper na cancellation ng ating units here. Yung F and S, wala talaga silang unit. Yung clearance natin, 6 liters per hour times the steady state concentration, 10 milligram per liter. If we do the math, ang maiiwan na unit dito, syempre, is R, yung time. So we're talking about the interval, time interval ng pag-inom. So again, if we do the math, we'll get 5.8 hours and we are going to round it off to the nearest whole number. The dosing interval for the drug for arthritis is 6 hours. So after taking it, now, after 6 hours, magsi-second dose na. So that's how we compute the dosing interval. Again, this is the last slide. Any question or clarification? Pwede kayong mag-send ng message sa inbox. So again, sa remaining time, I have given you the copy of the PowerPoint presentation for your reference. Nandyan na din pati yung mga formula. And then we have under sa application sa week 8 ha. Pero dalawa lang naman yan. Practice problem on how to compute for the loading dose and the dosing interval. And then meron pa sa baba na activity na hindi ko na-send last time, but you can just do this in your free time. Konti lang naman yan. Ihahabol ko lang later yung recording ng lesson para ma-review nyo siya. So, lahat ng na-discuss from the first week, wala tayong discussion sa first week. Basta yung first natin na meeting and up to now, yan yung magiging coverage natin for our midterm exam. Okay? Sabi ko na kanina, multiple choices, essay, and then bulk of that will be problem solving. Again, the